Jenny never imagined peace would sound like this, just the creak of floorboards beneath her socks and the distant hum of a neighbor's lawnmower. No yelling. No footsteps storming up the stairs. No passive-aggressive sighs through paper-thin walls. Just space. Silence. Hers. The house wasn't much. A two-bedroom, one-bath bungalow tucked into a quiet street in Denver's Park Hill neighborhood. The porch slanted a little, and the kitchen cabinets needed replacing, but Jenny didn't care. After years of living for others, this was hers. She had bought it with her own salary, her own credit score, and her own damn signature. Not a man's. Not her father's. Not a co-signer's. Hers. She painted the walls pale sage green, the kind that felt like a hug when sunlight hit it right. She planted succulents in mismatched mugs on the windowsill. She slept diagonally across the bed. Jenny was building a life around the smallest joys, and for once, it didn't feel like settling. It had taken a year to get here. A year since her engagement shattered like thin glass. He wanted children. Immediately. She wanted more time, more therapy, more breath between trauma and commitment. That wasn't a conversation, they'd both known it. He left. She broke. But sometimes, broken things grow differently. Jenny was in her kitchen unpacking groceries when her phone buzzed. Dad, the screen read. Her thumb hovered over the reject button, but something, some dusty instinct, made her answer. Jenny, her father's voice came through, strained, like someone who hadn't rehearsed kindness in a while. We need to talk. A beat. We're in a tight spot, he said. Your mother and we're behind on the house payments. And your brother, he's starting his shop. He's got real potential, Jen. We just need a little help. Jenny leaned against the counter. How much? Just the house, Jen, he said. Your house. Put it up for a line of credit. Help us get back on our feet. Help your brother launch right. The room dimmed, like the air was tightening. You want me to mortgage my home? There was a pause. It's not like you've got a husband. No kids. What are you even holding on to it for? She said nothing. We gave everything for you, he continued. You think you'd have that tech job without us sacrificing? This is your turn. I'm not putting my house on the line, she said. Calm. Final. There was a laugh, sharp, small. Her mother's voice came into the background, louder than the phone should have allowed. She always was the selfish one. No man, no family, and now not even a heart. Just a fancy title and a cold bed. Jenny hung up. She stood in her kitchen for minutes, maybe hours, the cold carton of oat milk sweating in her hands. Then she laughed, a strange, choked sound that turned into tears. They hadn't changed. She had. Later that night, she opened her family group chat, one filled with cousins announcing pregnancies and aunts sharing passive quotes about daughters who forget their roots, and typed. I won't be giving up my home. This is not a debate. Do not call me again about money. Then she silenced the thread. But it didn't end. The next Monday, her boss pulled her aside after their morning stand-up meeting. Jenny had just finished demoing a new back-end feature when she was asked into a conference room with glass walls and too many eyes watching. Jenny, her boss began, clearly uncomfortable, your parents came by. Jenny blinked. They made a scene in the lobby. Claimed you were neglecting them. Something about illness. Financial abandonment. It got loud. Jenny swallowed, her voice barely a thread. I'm sorry. They're lying. I figured, her boss said gently. HR asked them to leave, but, you should be aware. And maybe take a few days if you need. She nodded, even though her brain was screaming. That evening, Jenny did something she'd never done before. She logged into her banking app and canceled the monthly deposits she'd been sending home for the past 6 years, ever since she got her first tech job. She canceled her brother's tuition payments. She unsubscribed from every obligation they taught her was love. Then she opened a fresh note on her laptop. At the top, she typed, "Freedom costs something too." And that night, for the first time since she was 21, Jenny slept like no one was watching. Tuesday morning was colder than usual. Jenny wrapped her scarf twice around her neck and sipped her coffee slowly as she walked into the office, hoping for a quiet day, just code, headphones, and silence. Instead, she found hushed voices. People weren't whispering, not quite. But they weren't being normal either. That uncanny shift in how coworkers said, "Good morning," too polite, too careful, it was there. Like they were all orbiting something they didn't want to name. She brushed it off. Maybe it was nothing. But when she opened Slack, she saw it. A message from Laura in reception. "Hey, just wanted to give you a heads up, 2 people came by asking for you yesterday. Claimed to be your parents." Security handled it, but it got uncomfortable. Jenny stared at the screen until the words blurred. She already knew what they said. She could hear it in her head, her mother's melodrama, her father's theatrical grief. "Our daughter left us with nothing. My husband's sick. We sacrificed everything for her." The guilt parade. The martyrdom. The knives wrapped in flowers. They had always known how to weaponize shame. But bringing it to her workplace. That crossed a line Jenny didn't even know she still had. Her phone buzzed again. Another message, from HR this time. "Let us know if you need support. We're here for you." She stared at the screen. Then walked straight to a supply closet, locked the door behind her, and let herself fall apart. She didn't scream. She didn't sob. It was quieter than that. Like watching something inside her wither, fold into itself. Like grief for a version of herself that still wanted to belong to people who treated her like currency. After work, she didn't go home. She drove aimlessly around Denver for hours. Past old bookstores and taco trucks. Past the apartment she used to share with her ex, past the coffee shop where she first coded her resume. She pulled into a parking lot, turned off the car, and stared into the dark. She remembered Christmas, 2 years ago, how her parents gave her a list of bills they needed help with, wrapped in a holiday card. How they forgot to ask how she was doing after her breakup. How her brother joked that if she wasn't going to give them grandkids, she might as well pay for his college. She had laughed along back then. Just to feel like she belonged. Just to keep the peace. But there was no peace. Not for her. She opened her banking app. One by one, she began shutting every door she'd left open. Monthly grocery allowance, cancelled. Brother's college tuition, cancelled. Electric bill for the family house, cancelled. Then she opened their shared Dropbox, the one she'd used to keep all the family's scanned medical records, insurance documents, applications, receipts, and deleted her access. A small, fierce calm settled in her chest. Not rage. Not revenge. Just detachment. She returned home close to midnight. The porch light glowed warmly. Her little house. Still standing. Still hers. Still the one place untouched by their chaos. She sat at her desk and began drafting an email. Subject, final notice. Effective immediately, I am ceasing all financial support and communication. I will no longer be responsible for tuition, utilities, groceries, or medical expenses. Do not come to my workplace again. I wish you well, but I need peace to survive. Jenny. She hit send, unplugged her router, and turned off her phone. The next morning, she called her cell provider and changed her number. She shut down her Facebook and LinkedIn. She deleted the family group chat entirely. She even wiped their contact names from her phone, just in case, one day, she forgot and reached out in a weak moment. She would not give herself that rope to hang from. That weekend, Jenny listed her house for rent. Not to sell, she loved that house. But she needed distance. She needed fresh air. She needed to leave Denver before their poison became her atmosphere again. She picked a place she'd only ever seen in postcards, Oregon. Rainy, quiet, slow. She booked a one-way flight and packed only what fit in 2 suitcases. On her last night in the house, she stood in the doorway and whispered, not to her parents, not to the universe, but to herself. You did not deserve any of that. And then she closed the door behind her. The rain in Oregon didn't ask questions. It fell without ceremony, soft, rhythmic, and unbothered by human plans. Jenny arrived in Portland with 2 suitcases and a bruised heart, craving exactly that, anonymity. Quiet. A sky that didn't demand anything of her. She rented a small cottage on the outskirts of town, with moss creeping along the fence and a lemon tree that tried its best despite the gray. The place smelled like cedar and old books. She liked it immediately. There were no family photos on the walls. No expectations hidden in drawers. Just a house, and her. Jenny started her new job at a modest tech startup downtown. Nothing flashy, just a team of kind-eyed developers and decent coffee. Her title was senior engineer, but for once, no one introduced her as the smart daughter. Just Jenny. She walked to work most days. Sometimes, she took a longer route just to pass a record store with a neon sign that said, "You are here." She liked that sign. It didn't care where you came from or where you were going. It simply stated the truth. You are here. Jenny joined a hiking group on Sundays. Mostly women in their 30s and 40s, some divorced, some grieving, all healing. They didn't ask about her past. They talked about books, dogs, Trader Joe's deals. Jenny didn't volunteer anything more. Until one Sunday, when the trail ended at a clearing with a view of Mount Hood, she spoke. My family doesn't know where I am, she said. And I think I'm okay with that. No one tried to fix her. Someone handed her a granola bar. That was enough. Weeks passed. Jenny bought a second-hand bike. She started journaling again. She learned how to make real ramen broth. She named a stray cat that lingered on her porch, Carl, even though she never touched it. She just liked having someone else breathing nearby. One rainy Wednesday, she got a letter. Forwarded from her old address in Denver. No return name, but she recognized the handwriting. Her mother's. She stood in the kitchen, holding the envelope like it might hiss. For 10 minutes, she didn't open it. Just stared at it like a ghost that had slipped through a wall. Then, carefully, she slid a knife beneath the seal and unfolded the paper. Jenny. I don't know where you are, but I hope you're still alive. Your father's blood pressure is getting worse. Your brother is trying. We all make mistakes. Family should stick together. I don't understand why you had to cut us off so cruelly. We're still your parents. We still deserve love. Mom. Jenny read it once. Then again. Each time, it said less. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just manipulation dressed up in concern. She burned the letter in the fireplace. The next day, she blocked the family email address. Then she booked a weekend trip to the coast. Just her, the ocean, and 3 paperbacks. She sat on driftwood with salt in her hair and thought about the word deserve. Her parents had used it like a weapon. But she was learning that love wasn't owed. Not when it came tethered to conditions. Not when it came wrapped in shame. Her therapist, yes, she found one, asked her a question that lingered in her bones for weeks. Who are you without the people who broke you? Jenny didn't have an answer yet. But she was learning to live her way into it. She bought new curtains. Painted her front door a deep blue. Adopted Carl officially, turned out he was a she, but the name stuck. And most nights, she sat on her porch with a cup of tea, listening to the rain ask nothing of her. It was more than she'd ever been given by the people who raised her. By the time Jenny turned 35, Oregon didn't feel borrowed anymore. It felt like home. She had new routines. Sunday hikes. Tuesday night trivia at a local bar. Carl, now unmistakably the queen of the house, claimed every windowsill like she paid rent. And Jenny, for the first time in years, didn't flinch when her phone buzzed. Because no one from the past had her number anymore. Her body felt different too. Not just healthier, lighter. Like she'd been carrying a weight so long she didn't realize she'd set it down until she started dancing in the kitchen again, alone, socks sliding across wood floors to Stevie Nicks. But peace is never a guarantee. It's something you guard. One morning in late October, Jenny opened her email and froze. It was from a new address, unfamiliar, but the subject line chilled her. Your father is in the hospital. She stared at it for minutes, her coffee cooling beside her. Eventually, she clicked. Jenny. You don't have to talk to us. I get it. But Dad's not doing well. Stroke. The doctors aren't sure how bad yet. Mom is scared. Please. Just respond. Even if it's to say you're okay. Daniel. Her brother. She hadn't heard from him in almost 3 years. She closed the laptop without replying. That day, she moved through her hours like someone walking through fog. She typed lines of code she later deleted. She burned her grilled cheese. She couldn't remember the ending of the movie she put on to distract herself. She told herself she owed them nothing. Still, the ache was there. Not guilt, Jenny had learned to recognize the difference. This was grief. For what never was. For the family she should have had. The one that wouldn't weaponize her silence. The one that wouldn't need a near death to suddenly find respect. That night, she lay awake replaying every moment she tried to earn their love. When she was 10 and got straight A's, they'd asked if her brother's grades were better. When she won her high school coding competition, they said it was cute, but warned her it wouldn't help her find a husband. Even the night she got engaged, her mother had leaned in and whispered, "Good. Maybe now you'll give us something real, like grandkids." They had never seen her. Only what she could give them. And yet, here they were. Reaching back again. Hoping she'd forgotten. Hoping she'd heal enough to come back, but not enough to have boundaries. The next email came a week later. He's out of the ICU. Can't speak clearly. Keeps asking for you. I think he's scared. Mom says she's sorry, in her way. She doesn't say it right. But I think she means it. Please don't let it end like this. You're still his daughter. Jenny didn't cry. She felt something colder than that. She opened a blank draft. Typed, deleted, typed again. Then finally, wrote one sentence. Just one. She sat with it for a long time. Then she pressed send. The little house I bought was peaceful enough, without people who once called me a burden. No signature. No goodbye. Just a statement. She closed her laptop, shut off the lights, and walked out to the porch where Carl waited in the twilight. The air smelled like pine and rain and something clean. Something that didn't hurt to breathe. She whispered into the dusk, almost smiling. I'm still his daughter. But I'm mine first. Thanksgiving came quietly that year. No flight delays. No forced family conversations. No pretending at tables that love lived where control had always sat. Instead, Jenny cooked for herself. Not out of loneliness, but celebration. She made butternut squash soup from scratch, set one place at the table with a linen napkin, and poured herself a glass of wine. Carl curled at her feet. It wasn't a holiday she dreaded anymore. It was a day she chose, on her own terms. She hadn't heard back from her brother after her last email. Part of her thought maybe she would. Part of her didn't care. That one line had said everything she'd carried for decades. I am enough. Even without you. That December, she hosted her first Friendsgiving. Her hiking group came, bringing mismatched chairs and gluten-free pies. One of her coworkers brought his mother, who hugged Jenny too tightly and called her, honey, every other sentence. They filled the little house with laughter, hot cider, and conversation that didn't cut like knives. One woman, Lisa, recently divorced, stood in Jenny's kitchen and whispered, it's crazy how a person can build a new family out of strangers. Jenny smiled. It's not crazy. It's called healing. After everyone left, she washed dishes with music playing low and her heart still full. It wasn't the family she was born with, but it was one she didn't have to pay for in pieces of herself. Sometime in January, a package arrived at her door. No return address. But the handwriting was unmistakable. Her mother's again. Jenny opened it slowly, bracing for more guilt. Inside was a small photo album. On the first page was a picture of Jenny at 6 years old, missing teeth, holding up a science fair ribbon. She remembered that day. She'd placed third, and her father said, why not first? The next pages were quieter. Candid moments. Her walking across the stage at her college graduation. Her brother beside her in one, arms slung casually over her shoulders. A note was tucked between the pages. You don't have to forgive us. I don't know how to ask for that properly. But I want you to know we kept everything. Even when we didn't act like it mattered. You always mattered. If this is the last thing I send, I hope you believe that. Mom. Jenny didn't cry. She felt, still. Not broken. Not elated. Just whole. She didn't reply. Some things don't need closure with the people who hurt you, they need peace inside you. And she'd built that peace. One decision, one boundary, one quiet morning at a time. Months later, she stood on the porch of the little house, hers again now, no longer rented out, and watched the spring come in. Tulips she'd planted the year before were blooming along the path. Carl sat beside her like a loyal old friend. Inside, a book club was waiting. Wine chilled. Music played. And in the hallway, a framed quote she'd bought from a thrift store read. She made a home out of silence. And it loved her back. Jenny smiled. She had not just survived her story. She had rewritten it.